My name is Sarah, and until recently, I was happily married to Liam, my husband of 5 years. We met during college and quickly bonded over our shared love for books, music, and adventure. Our relationship was steady and filled with love. We trusted each other completely and dreamed about building a future together. Liam was kind, caring, and the kind of person who made everyone around him feel special. Our life was comfortable and full of joy, then everything changed suddenly. One morning, Liam suffered a massive stroke out of nowhere. Despite the doctor's best efforts, he passed away within hours. The shock was overwhelming. I felt as if the ground beneath me had vanished, and I was left alone in a world that no longer made sense. Grief took over my every thought, and the pain felt unbearable. I struggled to imagine a life without him, the person I loved most. Even now, months later, the sorrow remains fresh. Every day is a battle between holding on to memories and trying to move forward. Losing Liam shattered the life I thought I knew, and left me desperate to find peace again. Emily had been in Liam's life long before I ever met him. They grew up together in the same small town, practically inseparable as kids and teenagers. Everyone knew Emily. She was loud, dramatic, and sometimes a little over the top, but most people thought she was harmless. Liam always said she had a big heart beneath all that flair, and I believed him. When we celebrated Liam's 30th birthday last year, Emily came to the party, and that's when I first noticed something odd. She seemed overly familiar with Liam, almost possessive, and she wouldn't stop trying to dominate the conversations. At one point, she even interrupted me to tell a long story about their childhood that made me feel like an outsider. Her behavior was strange, but I shrugged it off, trusting Liam's judgment completely. He told me Emily was just being her usual dramatic self, and I didn't want to read too much into it. I remember that night because Emily seemed unusually fixated on Liam, like she was trying to remind everyone of their history or stake some claim. She was flirty in a way that felt uncomfortable, but Liam assured me it was innocent. I wanted to believe him after all. I knew Liam better than anyone. So, I let it slide and pushed aside the little nagging feeling in the back of my mind. At the time, I never imagined that this dramatic but harmless childhood friend would become such a problem later on, after Liam's sudden death. Everything around me felt like it was falling apart. I was overwhelmed with grief, trying to make sense of a world without him. That's when Emily started reaching out. At first, it was just a call here and there, checking in. But very quickly, the calls became more frequent and intense. She began sending long messages, sometimes pages of text, filled with memories of her and Liam growing up together. At first, it was comforting to hear stories I didn't know, but soon her words took on a different tone. Emily kept emphasizing the special connection she had with Liam, almost as if she was trying to replace me in his life. She talked about how they understood each other like no one else did, and how she felt lost without him. Emily started showing up unannounced at my house, saying she just wanted to help me through the grief. She insisted that we spend time together to honor Liam's memory, even offering to organize memorial events. But her presence was less supportive and more invasive. Every conversation seemed to revolve around her relationship with Liam, and it left me feeling like a guest in my own sorrow. I tried to set boundaries gently, telling her I needed space and time, but she brushed it off, saying that true friends didn't let go. So her behavior grew more desperate and controlling, and I began to dread every call and message. What started as concern quickly turned into an uncomfortable obsession. I wasn't just grieving my husband anymore. I was trying to protect my own peace from someone who refused to respect it. One afternoon, as I was sorting through the mail, I found a peculiar envelope addressed to me in elegant, flowing script. Curious, I opened it to discover a formal invitation from Emily, an invitation to what she called a spiritual union ceremony with Liam. My heart skipped a beat as I read through the words, which felt surreal and chilling. Phrases like our eternal bond, uniting souls beyond the physical, and celebration of everlasting love were boldly printed across the invitation. She had sent this not only to me but also to several members of Liam's family. People I knew were just as bewildered as I was. The idea that Emily was planning some kind of wedding ceremony with my late husband was both horrifying and confusing. How could she think this was appropriate? Liam and I had a life together, a marriage grounded in reality and love, and yet, here was this bizarre invitation, as if she was trying to rewrite our story. I felt a mixture of shock, anger, and deep sadness. This was not just strange behavior, it was a blatant disregard for my grief and our shared history. Part of me wanted to ignore it and pretend it wasn't happening, but the fact that Liam's family was involved made it impossible to avoid. I was terrified of what might happen if this ceremony went ahead. I knew I had to act quickly, not just for my own peace of mind but to protect Liam's memory from being twisted in such an unsettling way. Almost immediately after the invitations arrived, I started receiving calls from Liam's relatives, confused and upset. They wanted answers, questions about what this spiritual union meant and why Emily was doing this. I explained everything honestly, assuring them there had never been any estrangement between Liam and me, and that Emily's claims were baseless. I could hear the disbelief and worry in their voices, realizing this situation was spiraling. I reached out to Emily directly, hoping to confront her and understand her motives. When I called, she didn't seem ashamed or apologetic. Instead, she insisted she was simply honoring Liam's true wish, claiming they had a deep, secret bond no one else understood. She spoke as if Liam had confided in her about wanting this spiritual ceremony, which was entirely false. Her words left me stunned and frustrated. I told her that while grief affected us all differently, what she was doing was disrespectful and hurtful. I demanded she stop contacting me and refrain from involving anyone else. Emily, however, remained firm, insisting that this ceremony was necessary to celebrate the love they shared. After that conversation, I realized I had to prepare for a difficult battle, not just to protect my husband's memory, but to set firm boundaries with someone who refused to accept reality. Despite my repeated objections and pleas, Emily went ahead with the so-called spiritual union ceremony. The event was held at a small rented hall decorated with white flowers, candles, and flowing fabrics. Emily wore a long white dress that looked like a wedding gown, complete with a veil. She carried herself as if she was the bride in a real wedding, her eyes glistening with a strange mix of sorrow and determination. The ceremony was bizarre and unsettling. Emily recited vows to Liam's urn, which sat on a pedestal in front of her. Adorned with ribbons and photos of Liam from happier times, she spoke about eternal love and the unbreakable bond that transcends death. Throughout the ceremony, some guests, mostly people from Liam's childhood and a few who barely knew him, watched with confusion and curiosity. Emily later posted dozens of photos and videos from the ceremony on her social media. In some images, she held Liam's urn tightly, while in others, she smiled as if she had finally found peace. Many of her followers left supportive comments, while others expressed their confusion or concern. A few of Liam's distant friends and family members appeared genuinely uncertain about what to believe. Some even commented privately to me, asking if there was any truth to Emily's claims. The whole ordeal felt like a surreal nightmare, twisting my grief into something unrecognizable. I felt powerless watching this spectacle unfold and worried about how it was affecting Liam's memory in the eyes of those who didn't know the whole story. After the ceremony, Emily's behavior grew even more alarming. She began telling mutual friends and acquaintances that Liam and I had been separated for months before his death, and that I had pushed him away. According to her, Liam had been unhappy in our marriage and had regrets he never voiced publicly. I started receiving messages from people who knew both of us, asking if this was true. Some were confused, others cautious, and a few even expressed sympathy for Emily's version of events. These lies felt like knives twisting in my heart. Not only was she disrespecting Liam's memory, but she was also spreading falsehoods that made me question everything I thought I knew. The constant barrage of accusations and rumors began to wear on me. I found myself doubting my own memories, wondering if I had missed something important or if there was some hidden truth I hadn't seen. It was devastating to feel my sanity unravel in the face of such relentless falsehoods. I tried to talk to close friends and family about what was happening, hoping to find reassurance. They stood by me firmly, reminding me of the real Liam we all loved. But the damage was done. Millie's lies had planted seeds of doubt in the minds of people I cared about. The pain of grieving Liam was now tangled with the pain of defending our life together against a stranger's cruel fabrications. I knew I had to find a way to stop this before it destroyed everything. After the wedding fiasco and the growing web of lies, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I reached out to the venue where Emily held her so-called spiritual union. The person I spoke to was a kind woman who sounded genuinely apologetic. She admitted that Emily had told them a very different story, claiming she was Liam's fiancée and that I had abandoned him. They had no idea the truth. I also contacted the pastor who had officiated the ceremony. His voice was warm but filled with regret as he explained how Emily had convinced him to perform the ritual, presenting it as something Liam deeply wanted before he died. He was surprised to learn the real circumstances and immediately apologized for any pain caused. The pastor even offered to publicly clarify the situation to the community and to help me honor Liam's memory properly. His sincerity was a small comfort amid the chaos. This conversation opened my eyes further. Emily wasn't just inventing stories. She was rewriting Liam's entire life as if it suited her narrative. It was chilling to realize how far she was willing to go, manipulating everyone around her to fit this twisted version of reality. I knew I had to expose the truth and protect the memory of the man I loved. Things took a bizarre turn when Emily started posting ultrasound photos on her social media, claiming she was pregnant with Liam's child. She insisted Liam was the father, though it was impossible. The photos were clearly doctored, but some of the images went further, showing her standing next to a shirtless man whose face had been crudely photoshopped to look like Liam's. The posts were disturbing, mixing fantasy and lies in a way that was almost surreal. Emily captioned them with messages like, "Our little miracle on the way, and Liam's legacy lives on through our baby." Shockingly, some of her followers, unaware of the real story, left congratulatory comments, celebrating her news. The idea that Liam had kept such a secret from me was hurting more than I could say. Every time I saw those posts, it felt like a fresh wound. Emily's fabrications had crossed into a new, painful territory, claiming a child that didn't exist, and dragging Liam's name through the mud even further. I was overwhelmed, unsure how to confront this newest deception without losing myself in the process. As Emily's lies grew bolder, Liam's cousin and Emily's own brother began stepping in publicly. They confronted Emily on social media and in private conversations, challenging her stories and pointing out glaring inconsistencies. Liam's cousin was especially vocal, sharing details about Liam's last days and his plans with me that completely contradicted Emily's version. Emily's brother, torn between family loyalty and reality, pressed her for the truth and highlighted the timeline errors in her claims. For example, Emily insisted she and Liam had a secret affair, while he was supposedly home with me every day. These confrontations made Emily increasingly unstable. Instead of retreating, she doubled down, posting more wild accusations and bizarre statements about her relationship with Liam. Her posts became erratic, full of anger and despair, alarming everyone who knew her. It was clear she was spiraling, out of control, trapped in a fantasy that was hurting not only me but also herself and our families. Despite the mounting evidence against her, Emily refused to face reality, which only made the situation harder to resolve. One night, around 3 a.m., there was a frantic banging on my front door. When I looked outside, I saw Emily, screaming and yelling accusations, blaming me for ruining her relationship with Liam. She was clearly distressed, her voice shaking with rage and desperation. Fearful for my safety, I called the police, and also reached out to Emily's brother, who arrived quickly. Emily's behavior was erratic. She shouted and refused to calm down, even pushing a police officer who tried to talk to her. The officers had no choice but to arrest her for assault and disturbance. I gave a statement explaining everything, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. It was heartbreaking to see someone I barely recognized in such a state. Emily's brother apologized repeatedly, telling me she had been struggling with untreated mental health issues for years. He said she wasn't taking her medication and had been slowly unraveling. While I didn't want to press charges, I understood that this was a necessary step to protect everyone involved. It felt like a turning point, hopefully the beginning of help and healing for Emily, and a chance for me to finally move forward. After the arrest, Emily was hospitalized for a psychiatric evaluation. The doctors diagnosed her with a serious, untreated mental health disorder, something she had been struggling with quietly for years. Her brother confided in me that Emily had stopped taking her medication a long time ago, which explained the intensity and instability of her recent actions. Knowing this brought a complex mix of emotions: sadness for her pain, relief that she was finally getting help, and a lingering frustration about all the hurt she caused. Despite everything, I decided not to press charges. I wanted her to get the treatment she needed, not add more legal trouble to her life. The hospital stay marked a turning point. Emily's behavior calmed down, and there was hope that she might recover and find peace. Meanwhile, I focused on healing myself and protecting what remained of Liam's memory from further damage. After everything that had happened, I realized I needed a clean break from the past to heal properly. The first step was deleting all my social media accounts. The constant reminders, the fake posts, and the unwanted attention were too much to bear. I wanted to remove myself from the noise and the chaos Emily had created. I began applying for jobs far away, in another state, hoping a fresh start would help me rebuild my life without the shadows of the past hanging over me. Leaving behind familiar places and memories was daunting, but necessary. Losing Liam was the hardest thing I've ever faced. The grief never fully disappears, but over time it becomes more manageable. I hold on to the love we shared, the happy moments, and the strength I gained from our life together. Healing is a slow process, but I'm moving forward, one step at a time. Most of all, I'm incredibly grateful for the family and friends who stood by me. Their support was a lifeline when everything felt overwhelming. They reminded me that love and kindness endure, even in the darkest times, and that gave me hope to keep going. Looking back, the contrast between Emily's obsession and my grounded love for Liam is striking. While she clung to a false fantasy, I held on to reality and the genuine bond we shared. It's rare to have such steadfast support during difficult times, and I treasure it deeply. This experience taught me a vital lesson: let the dead rest in peace and allow the living to heal and move forward no matter the pain. Love rooted in truth will always outlast deception and chaos.
That wraps up today's episode of r/Payback. If you enjoyed the ride, don't forget to subscribe for more epic stories.